Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're back in business here with a showdown between the Delhi Sultanate and the Mongols after the Springald nerf. So this is indeed in the new patch and should be quite a bit of fun. So spawning on the south side of the map, we do have our Delhi champion. It's going to be Islami. And up on the north, we do have our Mongol champion. It's going to be Divine DFP. So the Mongols going for a very standard opening, moving their TC right next to the forest here, which allows you to get very quick lumber. And then what you do is you set up an OVO, and the quick lumber is usually a big tell that somebody is going to be going for some sort of early horseman pressure, early barracks pressure. And one of the very degenerate builds that's going around the higher ranks of ladder, I actually saw a guy who was like 27-0, and I looked at his match history, and pretty much all the games were doing this build. So I think it's going to be something similar coming in here from Divine DFP. What you do is you basically get the OVO, you set up your barracks here, you pump out early spearmen, and you tower rush your opponent's gold. It is extremely obnoxious to deal with. What the Mongols will do is pull one worker, or two sometimes, set up the tower, and then what most players will do in response is they'll either pull villagers, which again is hurting your economy, or they'll build their own tower in response, and then when your tower finishes ahead of the Mongols, they just cancel theirs and get their resources back. Not all of them, but it's still very, very tricky and can be very debilitating to your early economy. So we'll see what he does. China has some decent tools because they can build very quickly, so they can set up defenses rather fast, but nonetheless, the Mongols do have the advantage of getting the double production at their barracks. So while you're producing spearmen to try and counter them, they're getting more than you. The one advantage that the defender has, of course, is the TC, but also on top of that, your supply lines are going to be a little bit more efficient. So here you can see Islami, the true Chad of Delhi. Through dark times and good times, he has been playing Delhi the entire time. And this is a very, very high-ranked game. I think this is between 1500 and 1650 ELO, so this is some serious stuff for sure. And you can see here there's no mosque coming up, right? He has the early wheelbarrow upgrade queued up with the professional scouts, no survival techniques. That's one of the issues with Delhi as well. One of the most powerful things of the meta really is going for the professional scouts and getting the Grand Theft Venison, but due to the fact that Delhi research takes so long, you can see here 3 minutes, and when you get to the feudal age, you'll get, what, one scholar? I think it's like just over, like under 3 minutes. You're not going to be able to really compete with your opponent in that regard, which is very tricky. So you just really can't play that way. So in response to the Mongol early barracks here, which is going to be double producing spearmen. So again, this is going to be the very, very gross build coming out here from the Mongols. The Delhi Sultanate is going to be using the wood rather on their barracks instead of the mosque, which I think is a very, very good response. And here forestry is almost done, so they will have a little bit of a wood advantage. That's what she said. And also the wheelbarrow will be coming up here in a couple minutes. And Delhi's going to be pumping out spearmen, no mosque yet. And, before you had to rush the mosque to get sanctity because it was such a defining way that the Delhi played. And obviously the most powerful way to play for Delhi was to push for early sacred sites, get control, and get 200 gold a minute from those bad boys. But now you don't have to rush it as much. Efficient production doesn't take that long at the mosque, and that is the other good one. And now it's coming up after the barracks, which I think is a very, very good choice because clearly the Mongols are coming for blood. And the Khan, even though he doesn't do a ton of damage, he does have movement speed, and that 2 damage can be kind of annoying. I mean, early spearmen only have 70 HP, so just kind of poking progressively is very, very tough. Something else about Khans is once Khans do get to the feudal age, their tile range, I believe, goes up if you get the upgrade, and they can actually outrange archers and be very, very obnoxious at picking off those units. So here comes the Delhi defense. They have 3 spearmen of their own, and the Mongols do have 4 and more coming. But like I said, the advantage of the defender is the fact that they do have the better supply lines. So though the Mongols will be producing more spears, Delhi will have more quickly to the front line engagement. So here comes the tower rush, a very, very annoying position. That's going to be hitting the wood line as well as the gold vein. And the Delhi spears move out to fight. It looks like villagers are being pulled as well. They got their daggers out. Look at these boys getting in there, shanking that spearman right there. And for the most part, the Delhi's doing pretty good in this fight. They've also pulled their scout, and the Mongol tower has been pushed back. The Khan also getting in there and poking. And some of the Delhi spears are falling, but the supply lines, like I said, better for them as the Mongol reinforcements. Oh, the Delhi have recruited the Dread Wolves. The bitey infantry are going after those spearmen right there. And we'll see if those spears can make it to the front line. But for the most part, an incredibly solid defense by the Delhi. And it's very easy to get set in your ways and just kind of go for the traditional feudal age tech. But against Mongols, you really have to respect the early pressure because it can be very, very punishing. But the wolves are actually helping quite a bit. We have the double wolves going after these spearmen here. Now Delhi is going to be forced to fall back. The Mongols do have a superior force once again. And the Khan, of course, even though it's just 2 damage, it does add up over time. Let me do a little bit of fast forwarding here as the Delhi continues to try and deal with this rush. They do push back the tower using the old spearmen here, and more spearmen coming out to fight. So the Mongols do have 6 against the 6 Delhi spears, but the ones that the Mongols have are a little bit damaged, whereas Delhi, I think, has a little bit less damage across the board. They are able to push those guys back, and value is certainly being accrued as those forces are hunted down here. Now looking down, more spearmen for Delhi. Are they going to the second age yet? Looking at the current resources, I don't think either player is really looking to go to the next age. This is just a haggard Dark Age battle. Oh, look at that, and the Khan does fall, actually. So a little bit of a slip-up right there. The Spears, of course, for the Mongols, able to probably win this fight. So the Delhi Spears will most likely be pushed back just due to sheer numbers, although villagers are being pulled, and villagers don't hit super hard. I mean, they do 6 damage with their knives, and the Spears do 6 as well. So, I mean, the villager is actually kind of an interesting thing. They actually don't trade terribly with the Spearmen, although I think their attack rate is a little bit worse, but very scrappy fight. And the fact that the Khan has gone down is a huge play. So now I think our Delhi player feels a little bit safe, and he's actually going to be pulling villagers and going up to the Mongol base. Look at this counterplay. This is beautiful. So he's going to be pushing the Mongol Ovo right here and setting up his own tower rush. So giving the Mongols a taste of their own medicine. We'll certainly see how they like it. And yes, the 2 Spearmen are trying to interrupt this, but I think that Delhi might be able to get this done. We'll see. Villagers here are getting a little bit danger low, but, you know, will he have to pull more? We'll find out. No, it looks like the Spearmen able to push those guys back, and I think that the Delhi Sultanate is going to be getting this up. Now, the barracks can be packed up and moved. However, the Mongols cannot pack up their Ovo right here, so this is going to be quite hilarious, as the Delhi Sultanate is going to get back in business and potentially shut this down. So we'll do some fast forwarding here as they torch that. Mongols attempting a little bit of a rush in the base, but not able to have as much success without the Khan, and the Ovo has been brought down. And now look at this. Delhi is actually towering the gold of the Mongols. On top of that, the Delhi infantry here can actually build walls, which is pretty solid, right? So if they wanted to, they could wall the Mongols in, they could wall the towers. But gold is going to be denied, and it looks like here in the back, the Mongols very, very wisely, good response by Divine DFP, going to be setting up his own outpost and going for gold. But all this interruption has really been kind of slowing the Mongol progression, although here the Deer Stones are coming out in heavy force as 7 villagers have been pulled. Down in the Delhi base, do we have any inkling of tier 2? It doesn't look like it. These guys just jamming on over to the gold to try and get that really quick. Just absolute anarchy on both sides. Obviously a very tense game here in the beginning. But more villagers moving up, looking like they want a tower here. And yes, there's going to be a Delhi tower set up, and the Mongols going to push out and probably be able to stop this. Yeah, the 2 villagers of Delhi have finally fallen, but the Spears of the Delhi Sultanate are swarming in, and they're going to be taking a heavy trade. This will interrupt gold for a period of time, but I think this might have been one of the few misplays we've seen from Delhi so far, is committing all these Spears to this fight. Yeah, they're doing some work, and it looks like the Khan might get shanked down again, but the tower shooting at these guys is a little bit too much. But I guess it is kind of minimizing the Mongol army. Hard to say, though. So we do have the Dome of Faith coming up, which is going to allow the Delhi to finally get the very, very good Sanctity tech, which, of course, comes in at a whopping 5 minutes. So, hey, you know, you can get Sanctity at 15 minutes when your opponents are close to reaching Imperial Age. Glorious, glorious indeed. But, you know, Zlami's not going to let that stop him, man. He's got a lot of fancy tricks and clearly has been showing us that he knows how to play the Delhi. So he's actually put the Scholar that came in his mosque into the barracks here. And it looks like he's really not prioritizing the mosque system as these workers move out. And are they going to be getting gold, or are they going for the deer camp here? We'll have to see. We have the old Delhi outpost guarding the stone, and this is huge. The fact that the Mongols aren't getting an OVO, there's no improved siege engineering, there's no double trading. They're missing out on a lot of stuff, so shutting down that early Mongol OVO in the Dark Ages, maybe that's kind of the key to success against this type of really, really nasty play. So going for the deer camp out here is the Delhi, and more scholars being researched. Sanctity is on the way. It's about 4 minutes away, so that should be coming in just before the 15-minute mark in the game. We have a double archery range with a scholar in the archery spot, and he's going to be double producing while the ranged attack upgrade is researched. And now Delhi's going to be pushing in once again. The Mongols, of course, getting some free resources off these buildings, which is a little bit unfortunate for Delhi. And yeah, 50 and 50, certainly not bad. But archers do come in. Archers, of course, the natural counter against the spearmen. And the Mongols are switching into horsemen, so it looks like they're going to be going for some horsemen, and they did actually get another OVO set up back here, so I did not see that earlier. My apologies. There is a second one, and they're not going to be punished that badly. But Delhi's in a pretty cozy position, right? If you can have the Mongols on the back foot, that is certainly a pretty huge win. It looks like the Mongol Khan running by might get taken out, probably not. Looks like he's got pretty good pathing, but in the meantime, the Delhi's still putting the pressure on the Mongols here, forcing back many of their collection sites, and food is going to become a bit of an issue for the Mongols as well, right? Yeah, setting up the step readout. Wow, that's a really fast castle age. I'm surprised he was able to do that with all that pressure, but that's what the Mongols do, man. They somehow just find a way. So it looks like there's a deer camp back here, but that's going to be one of the last sources of food, as here you can see Zlami's doing an excellent job of kind of blockading the base. Not using any palisades yet or trying to wall the Mongols in, but for the most part, he is doing his due diligence here and doing the work. So Outpost still stands. We'll do a little bit of fast forwarding here as it's kind of a little bit of downtime of the game. Step readout is going to give a massive, massive gold spike. But here some of the archers move in, but now the Mongolians have heavy lancers. And the Delhi Sultanate is trapped in the feudal age here. So we'll see what they can do. Are they going to the next age? It doesn't look like we have that yet. Is there any Sanctity play? I don't think Sanctity is done. It's just now finishing. So pretty brutal. I mean, Mongols are in Castle Age. They're building heavy armored lancers. And Delhi basically just has a couple spearmen around the map with some archers. This is going to be tough for them, man. They're very, very behind in the score. But a true Chad Delhi player like Zlami will perhaps find a way. We will see. So it looks like there is going to be the compound of the defender, and this has been very much the switch from Delhi meta. Before it used to be the curved blades because of how good it was, but look at this. He's got 16 workers power building to the compound of the defender, which allows him to stonewall. And you can see he's actually gathering stone, not for a second TC, but most likely for some sort of a wall push on the Mongols, which is going to be hilarious. So producing spears in droves, he manually switches his scholar to each building. It looks like he's not garrisoning all of them. And now the Scholar's going to be moving out, and they're going to be going for some sacred sites. Here, a couple of the Mongol Lancers chasing down what units they can, but Delhi able to kind of push them back with their old spears here. And now they're getting the Great Wall. So yes, sacred sites will be accrued. This is going to be very, very strong. And the Mongols are in the base, raiding and getting some nice kills against the Delhi villagers. A couple spearmen do move out and intercept those bad boys, and should be able to drag them down, but decent eco damage, forcing them off stone, and really being very, very disruptive here to the Delhi economy. But again, the sacred sites are in full effect. Scholars are also grabbing relics around the map. Up here, it looks like the Khan was making sure that there was no witchcraft going on there. And it looks like the Scholar is going to be getting that relic back. So, very, very tight game here. Score pretty heavily favored for the Mongols. The step readout going pretty crazy. But the Mongols, I think, need to figure out their food economy. Although here they do have a nice deer camp in the open. So that should pretty much solve their issues. And I think he's done a pretty good job covering his bases. Once again, Spearmen setting up the hardened walls all over the realm. A couple Lancers here, able to torch the Delhi food on the perimeter. Is Delhi going to have to switch into farms, building more mosques and more barracks here, and basically farming the remnants of the sheep economy of the base. So I think it's a good idea to save your sheep for later, but he's getting a shit ton of Spearmen. Compound of the defender is up, so now the Delhi Spearmen can actually build stone walls, which is pretty hilarious. We'll see what he kind of aims to do with those bad boys. Once again, we are continuing to move here as the Scholars going to grab what relics they can. Spearmen moving out, but the Lancers of the Mongols are guarding the trade post here and just kind of watching the wings to see if Delhi's going to push out from that direction. But Delhi's starting to get some pretty good upgrades. Bloomery coming in, and the hardened Spearmen looking extra hard as, oh my god. Oh my god, the most Chad Delhi play ever. I thought this was only possible in Haggard FFAs, but Delhi has its own Lancers coming in, and on top of that, so I missed the stables. Where did he build the stables? Must have been down here in the base. Yeah, okay, in the back. And he's actually walling in the Mongols. In the meantime, the Mongols are just chilling because looking at his vision right now, he has no idea this is happening. Oh my god, the huge wall, dude. And he's got some men-at-arms and spearmen, but this is just the most ridiculous game ever. Look at this. So the walls are coming in. He walls these bad boys up. We'll do a little bit of fast forwarding here. And he thinks he's cozy, right? He's like, oh, this is going fine. Like, you know, I'm harassing. The Delhi are kind of pinned in a little bit. I'm just going to eco. But little does he know that the stone walls of the gods are forming outside of his base. And more stone walls are being built. And the Mongols are just now discovering this. But it is far too late. So the Delhi spearmen building the Great Wall of Delhi. And the Mongols are like, oh my god, I have to get out of this, right? So they bring in their men-at-arms and their battering rams. But Delhi's up in the walls, right? So they got crossbowmen on the walls taking reduced damage and trading into the Mongol crossbows very, very effectively. We do have a Stonewall Tower, of course, which I believe has a Springald emplacement. But the Springalds still appear to do 60 damage there. And of course the Mongols still making Springalds themselves, you know, feeling the echoes of the previous patch, but not going to be quite as good here as Delhi continues to just bombard up from the wall here. So suddenly the Mongols are completely trapped in their base, which is hilarious. So it really allows Delhi to kind of focus the fight on their front. And the Delhi soldiers have manned the walls and are preparing for glorious combat. So once again, we'll do a little bit of fast forwarding. As the Delhi troops, look at this. They're building Stonewall Towers, which have the Springald emplacements, and they're just shooting into the Mongol army and actually doing a surprising amount of damage. And the battering rams can only be so many places at once. And Delhi is hitting that stone quite hard in the base, getting a ton of upgrades across the board. And you know, Delhi in this patch is kind of live or die by the Castle Age, right? And right now they're... Oh, look at that! They can actually torch the rams from on top of the wall. I did not know that. Okay, so we just learned something big today. And though Divine DPF is up, Delhi has all 3 sacred sites behind this. Beautiful play. And he's going to be getting 600 gold a minute for free. So take a look at that. Yeah, he's a little bit behind even because of the step readout. But the Mongols are going to run out of gold and Delhi will not, right? So look at these towers just blasting into the Mongol army. That is such a meme. Now, as far as Delhi goes, still just massing spearmen and lancers. It looks like, yeah, that's going to be the army comp, mixing in some crossbows, men-at-arms, just all the gold-intensive units, right? And now the gate is going to be formed, and it looks like Delhi is going to be pushing through as Delhi slips in a couple lancers into the back of the Mongol base, and the rest of the army just kind of stands at these towers, which are actually shooting at the oboe, which is pretty hilarious. So here comes the old lancers, moving up and around the back, going to be going for the step readout. Looks like there's a couple spearmen back here, but they will be quickly overwhelmed by the upgraded lancers, which are 5-5, and the melee upgrades for the Mongols aren't quite as good. It looks like they're 1-1. Yeah, the step readout is being shut down. In the meantime, the Delhi army going to be chilling here at the gates, and those bad boys will be moving in. Looks like one of the walls is finally going to be shut down by a traction trebuchet, but again, Delhi could simply just repair that if they want to. So now, the dread Delhi Legion, just a ton of spears moving out. Lancers moving into the mangoes, which is the most important thing. A little bit of off-mango positioning there. They could have gotten some big shots on this army, but suddenly the Delhi force is huge. Military supply for the Mongols is at 62, and Delhi's Delhi's just at 95, just a huge erect army. And yes, all of the mangonels do go down very quickly. Delhi moving in with a vastly superior supply, all 3 sacred sites, and his opponent has been walled in. So it's good to see that there still are some, alpha Delhi players out there who, despite the issues, can make them work. A lot of it comes down to his game plan, right? Responding very, very well to the Mongol harass and following up with the dreaded Delhi wall. Dude, I think that was one of my favorite replays we've had in some time. So very, very well played to him. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that game. Let's see if we're still in his match history. No, we're not. I'd have to dig back in. So we can't quite look at the score without going all the way through my friends list. But just wanted to show you guys that replay to show that that was a high-ranked game. They were like 1600, 1650 ELO, like very, very solid players. And Delhi can still be made to work. You just kind of have to change it up. I have to say, I'm inspired. I'm nowhere near that guy's skill level, especially with Delhi, but I'm going to give it a try and see what we can do. Thanks again for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the Chad Delhi gameplay, and we'll see you next time.